from Traveling Single Mom, and I thought that since today's Thursday, we would do more of a throwback type video. So I was thinking what video I would do, whether it would be a story time. I was thinking something about China because I'm sure many of you want to know about going to China, living in China, traveling through China. So I thought that a great video for you guys would be the cost of living in China per month. So as many of you know, we lived in China from January of this year, 2019, to about June of this year, 2019. And it was an amazing experience, very different costs compared to the United States, living in California. So I just wanted to give you guys a simple breakdown of those costs and the differences between what we paid in California compared to what we paid in China, or wherever you live, you could compare. So let's start, of course, with housing, because that's the main expense for most people, no matter where you live. So I wanted to make sure that we lived in the right area in the city that we lived in Qingdao, China. So what we did first was we got hotels the first 2 nights, I think, different hotels, and I wanted to find somewhere where we could live short term until I figured out what school my daughter was going to go to, if I was going to get a job, things like that. So I found through a Chinese school that I was looking at attending to learn Chinese, that one person that goes there was renting a hotel room that had a kitchen, that had a gym, all of these things, and he was only paying about 89 RMB nightly, which is about $12.50 a night to live in this hotel. And I was like, wow, this sounds too good to be true, because at the time I had stayed 2 days in a shared apartment that I had found through a WeChat group. And so I went there and it was amazing, so I decided to stay there. So it ended up being about, when we got a regular hotel room, it was about 2,000 RMB a night, which is 2,000 RMB a night would be, let me think, not that much. So the conversion rate is 7, so it'd be about $300 a month, around there, to stay in this hotel. So that was awesome for us. So we stayed in this hotel for about 3 months and eventually upgraded to a hotel room with 2 bedrooms, and that cost us a lot more. So that started costing us around 500 a month, but it was still good. And so then eventually we became really close with people that from church, and they lived in this really nice complex, apartment complex. And so we moved there. Actually, I looked at the apartment, and the same day I paid for a year's rent of this apartment, which cost us about $6,500 for the entire year of rent. So compared to the United States, that's a pretty good breakdown, a little over $500 per month. And it was, an amazing apartment. I love that apartment so much. That's probably the first time in my life that I actually loved staying home. So that was great, until, as most of you have seen our previous video, where my visa got denied in July, so we were unable to go back. So we currently have a house in Qingdao, China until mid-April, and we can't be there. So yeah, lesson learned. So other options for that would be Airbnb, which I look at a lot lately. And so me looking at Airbnb for Qingdao, China, the same area that we lived, it's about $150 US to $500 US, depending on, of course, what kind of location, what kind of apartment that you get from there. So that would be another really great option for you. That would be the housing cost of living situation. So now let's look at transportation. Transportation was very good in Qingdao, China. Actually, I would even say that it's better in Qingdao, China than it is where we live currently in Mexico. So for the bus, it only costs 1 RMB to 2 RMB, and Safari was free. That's something important to think about too, because in Mexico, Safari's not free. You have to pay for every kid that gets on the bus, and that adds up very quickly. So in Qingdao, China, it was 1 to 2 RMB, which is about 15 to 30 cents. So that was pretty much nothing and awesome to us. And then we also took the subway a lot. So the subway, any subway trip throughout the city would have been 60 cents to $2, and Safari was also free, so that was awesome. So we would also take Uber on occasion, depending on where we were going, the time that we had. I tried to take Uber as little as possible, but once we moved into the apartment, we would take Uber to church every Sunday, so things like that. And the Uber would cost us anywhere between $3 to $7. So $7 would only be if we were going very far, such as Qingdao to Huangdao. That's like an hour ride or whatever, and that would cost I would say no more than $10-ish. So those are the transportation options and all of them are very, very affordable. So now let's talk about food. Food is a category that is going to vary drastically between one person and the next. For example, if I was single in Qingdao, China, I would have easily spent, I would say, like $200 a month. I would eat rice. I don't eat meat that often, so I would eat rice and just the little side dishes that I love so much from Qingdao. But my daughter, on the other hand, is very, very, very picky. So that made the food bill skyrocket, because then she buys this, and then I'm like, oh, it's in the house, I'll eat some, and it ends up we need a lot more international foods. So I'll give you examples of some of the international foods that are significantly pricey in Qingdao, but if you buy them in the US, they would be not a couple dollars. So cereal is something that she would eat every single day, $5 to $10 a box. Yes, you heard that right. So it depends. You could find Frosted Flakes in the traditional grocery store in Qingdao. However, if you wanted Cheerios or Lucky Charms, something more along those lines, you would have to get that at an international grocery store, which we would go to often, and that would be $10 a box. So that was a huge hit to our budget, I guess. And so then on the other hand, you could look at Chinese, like a breakfast sandwich. So it has like a Chinese style tortilla, I guess, on the outside, which I guess is supposed to be the bread of the sandwich. And then it would have like a thick bacon ham type thing, and then an egg. And I would get this at the grocery store that was pretty close to our house, and it would only cost me about 85 cents to get one of those, and those are delicious. I love eating local foods. So then once we moved into the apartment, there was a place across the street that was owned by a Muslim family, and they had different kind of rice bowls, meat bowls, stuff like that. And I would get, I'm very simple, I would just get a bowl of rice and then do like a arroz con leche, like a Mexican style rice, I guess. And for the big bowl of rice, because I'm too lazy to cook it, it was only 40, I think about 40 or 50 cents for this big bowl of rice that was easily 2 meals. So that was awesome. And then eating at a nice restaurant, so me and Safari going to a restaurant, both of us ordering and getting drinks, would cost about $7 to $14 depending on how nice the restaurant was. So that's really good compared to a United States place. You could go to fast food and spend more than $7 for one person. So that was awesome. And we ate out pretty often. I would say 4 to 5, maybe even more times a week. So another example that I'll give you of international foods would be sliced cheese. You know, the cheese that comes in the plastic little wrappers, individually sliced. So Safari loves that cheese, and it would cost about $3 for 6 slices of that cheese. So that was very expensive. So those are some examples of the grocery store slash restaurant costs that you might encounter while being in Qingdao. So a couple more things that I have on the list. Hold on, I have a list here. It would be utilities. So utilities are, we had to pay electricity once we got into the apartment, because in the hotel, and yeah, just the hotel, all of the costs were included in the hotel price, of course. But in the apartment, we had to pay for electricity. So that was 400 RMB a month, which is about $56. No, 400 RMB every 3 months. So it's about $20 every month. And then after that, we also had to pay hot water. So this is not with every apartment, because our friends in their building, they didn't have to pay for hot water, but we did. And so you put money on a hot water card, so you can put 200 RMB, about $30 or so, on this card, and then see how long that lasts you, I guess. So once we got into a routine and figured out we better not use a lot of hot water, I think like 200 RMB, which is $30, would last us probably about 1 month. But when we first got it and we were not paying attention to how much hot water we used, we ran out in like 2 weeks. And so I went to go take a shower then one morning, and there was 0 hot water. Like, it's not like you get a warning or anything. No. So I had to boil hot water in the kettle, mix it with regular water, and then take like a bucket bath. It was crazy, but good experiences. Learn from your lessons. So those are the two utilities, the only two utilities we had to pay. So another expense, which is going to be completely optional depending on your budget or how you choose to live, is getting a cleaning lady, which is called an IE in China. And our cleaning lady only costs about $30 per time that she came, and she came once a week. So every weekend she would come on Saturday, and that would be about 4 hours of cleaning, because we had a 2-bedroom apartment, but we cleaned up pretty much ourselves. We had her do more of the deep cleaning, like the kitchen and the bathroom, those type of things. And then the last thing that I have on my list is a phone bill. So this one is gonna shock you guys, because I know that my family, people that I know in the United States, they pay, I'm talking about $100 to even up to $200 per month, depending on how many lines, of course, are on their cell phone bill. So my cell phone bill in Qingdao, China cost 50 RMB per month, which is about $7 or $8. So I would just go to the phone store after I got my SIM card for my phone. Make sure you get an unlocked phone. Make sure you get your phone unlocked before you go to China, because that's the simplest way for you to get service while you're in China. So I got a SIM card, and I just paid like 400 RMB on it at a time. So that would be like 8 months of service. And so that was easy for me to not have to worry about going and paying at the phone company every time. So those are the different expenses that I've thought of that you guys would need to know or want to put into the budget when thinking about moving or traveling to China. When you think about it, most of these expenses, it doesn't matter if you're staying for 1 month or 1 year, you're going to need all of these expenses. You're going to need a phone, you're going to need a place to live. You can do that with Airbnb and just simply pay monthly depending on how long you are staying there. So that is the way we have chosen to live from learning our lesson, paying for a year of rent in China. Now we only pay monthly at anywhere we stay, so that if we don't like the place or we decide to move abruptly or whatever, we're not missing out on $6,000. Instead, we're missing out on $100 or $200, because I don't usually pay over $200 or $300 for rent per month. So that's our expenses. And please, in the comments, tell me what you think that it would cost to live in China, or if you've lived in China, how much it cost you. I would say, I mean, it's hard to give a monthly figure of how much you are going to spend while living in China, which is why I simply gave these breakdowns so that you could see how much it would cost you, whether you're going to get a cleaning lady or not, whether you're going to buy international foods or not. But I would say no matter what type of foods you buy, what type of extracurricular activities you buy, you can live in China for much less than $1,000 US per month, very easily. So that sounds good compared to most places in the United States, period. So if you decide to live in China, please let me know. Ask me questions. I would love to help you out in your journey to China or to other places that we have been. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.